you were burdened with introducing a pair of new heroes, and possibly some of this merchandise is hinting at Giant Man. But what steps have you taken to ensure that these characters are well received and not they don't get put in the shadow of characters who are already established?
That's a really good question. I mean, look, you know, my brother and I, we've always loved ensemble storytelling. And if you look at like a lot of our work, we work in ensembles a lot. From like our first movie, Welcome to Collinwood, through our television shows. We love ensembles, and I think we're sort of so we're kind of in tune to the idea of telling a story that has that has more than a single protagonist. We like that kind of story, and we like dense storytelling. We like layered storytelling. Um, So when we developed this, Joe and I sort of like, as we're developing the script with the writers, we kind of we like to look at we like to take a pass and look at the script from every different character's point of view. Even though it's Cap's movie, and the ultimate way we decide where to go with the film is we sort of filter through Cap's perspective. We do take time and we kind of walk ourselves through the story from every single character's point of view, as if it's their movie. And because we know how important these characters are. We love these characters ourselves. We want, it's like, we know that there's somebody sitting out there in the audience whose favorite character is that one. Even if that character only has a few scenes in the movie. So it's like, we want to make sure everyone's coming to the movie and is going to get a lot of satisfaction and have a lot of fun with what's being done with their favorite character in the movie, regardless of who it is. So we work really hard to do a lot do something special with characters who may only have limited screen time in the film.
Cool. One of those new characters, obviously, Spider-Man. What without giving too much away, have you done to differentiate him from different portrayals that have been done in the past 10, 15 years? This is the third one. How will he stand apart from those? How will Tom Holland's portrayal stand apart from the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire?
We took a very personal approach to the character. Joe speaking. He was my favorite character growing up, so the opportunity of bringing Spider-Man to the screen is like a dream come true. It's something that I spent a lot of time thinking about as a kid. We just thought back to the things that excited us about him as a character when we were younger, and one of the most important components of that was that he's a high schooler burdened with incredible powers and responsibility, and that really differentiates him from every other character in the Marvel universe and most other superheroes. So for us, it was extremely important that we cast somebody very close to the age of high school. The previous films had adults playing high schoolers. We wanted more of an authenticity in the casting, so we were very specific about that. We wanted an energy and charisma from the character, sort of an energy in it, but also an insecurity that would make him fun to watch in contrast to these confident superheroes. And it was also important to us that the actor that we cast feel contemporary, because the other films that portrayed where he lived and is more, they're sort of they honored the comic books in terms of the choices, but you go look at the home that Tobey Maguire lived in, and the Spider-Man and Raimi's Spider-Man run. Those are very expensive homes in New York City. I mean, those are this isn't a we wanted to play into the reality.
The everyman appeal to characters, something we've always loved.
Sure.
A character growing up with his aunt in New York, single income family. Where would they live? What would that look like? Where could they afford to live? We asked ourselves all those questions. We try to take a very logical and realistic and naturalistic approach to the character. And so animation, those are all of the things that we try to do, and of course to bring our own touches to.
You know, and I would also add, again, we're introducing this character in a Captain America movie,
Sure.
and if you look at what we did with Winter Soldier with the Cap character, in terms of bringing him into the modern world, trying to ground the movie tonally in something that was like a step toward real world, at least to the degree you can do that with a superhero movie. That's still the tonal universe that we're playing in Civil War, and so we're bringing Spider-Man into the movie in that universe now, in that specific tonal stylistic world.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like underscoring everything Joe was saying about your question in terms of how were we thinking about the character in relation to past interpretations of the character, part of our choices were also colored by the specifics of the world that we were playing in with these two Captain America movies, meaning Winter Soldier and Civil War. It's a very specific tonal world that's a little more grounded and a little more contemporary, hardcore contemporary. So I think that was also coloring our choices a lot about the character on Spider-Man.
Cool. I love it, man. I love how obviously passionate about the stuff you guys are and how much attention to the detail you're paying, because obviously this is a job for me, but I'm a fan. So like it's just in the Russos we trust, man, and this is why, because you guys pay so much attention to detail. I'm so excited hearing it from you.
Thank you. Well, we're fans also. I mean,
Yeah,
I still go to midnight screenings of movies when they come out. I still, I'm first in line to buy the new issue of the book. I still have my entire collection in my closet. It takes up entirely too much space in my closet, but I'll never give it up.
Of course not.
So these things are really important to us, and because we have a history with these characters, all of them. I mean, I read almost every comic book character you could think of when I was a kid, and I have, at least several issues of every character. And so there's a deep history that we can draw upon where I had great emotional and a strong psychological connection to the characters as a child. So you want to reach into that and understand the elemental, what elementally motivated you to love the character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we try to bring out in the characters now. And there are certain things, like we talked about Cap. There are things that bothered me as a kid about him. And then we tried to correct those things in our interpretation of the character. And I want to be clear, this is not, we're not trying to, denigrate other interpretations of Spider-Man. The Raimi movies are fantastic. Spider-Man 1 and 2 are amazing. And 2 is, one of my, if not my favorite comic book film of all time. But he made a very strong choice with those movies, from a color palette standpoint, from a costume standpoint, execution standpoint, camera work standpoint, to honor the feeling of a comic book. We're trying to honor the feeling of naturalism, and to honor the feeling of reality. And so the harder we can pull these characters into reality, the better for us, especially because, we're all so connected now through social media and the internet. We're also dialed into what's happening in current events. That it's important for us that these characters live in the world that we live in, and that because it makes them more immediate, and it makes our experience of watching them more passionate and more well-rounded. That's our thought, anyway.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Now, my last question about Spider-Man. Are we going to see anything Spider-Man on merchandise or trailers or anything before the movie's release?
We really can't comment on that.
Okay, sure. No worries.
Part of making these movies is maintaining surprise so that everybody's excited.
Absolutely.
And that's one way to maintain surprise.
Sure.